So you've just done a product review and you're not sure if you need to declare it as a paid promotion on YouTube. We're here to help. You see, at YouTube HQ, we're very serious about paid promotion declarations and following the FTC guidelines. That's why we've introduced a new checkbox that doesn't tell you at all whether you should actually be using it. In fact, our wording is so vague that we're gonna leave you questioning every decision you make for weeks. Just remember, kids, you need to declare your sponsorships, and we care far more about telling you what to do than why or how to do it. This message is a paid promotion brought to you by the YouTube Council for confusing UI changes. YouTube has made a change to their paid promotion checkboxes and their rules regarding disclosing, well, not the rules regarding disclosing sponsorships, but the way that they handle it on the YouTube player side. And I think it's a pretty big problem. So we're going to talk about that today, but unlike how these videos usually go, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to educate my fellow creators, because I think there's a lot of misinformation and not the right decisions being made, and I want to talk about that in today's video. So if you were unaware, now when you edit a video or you're uploading a video and putting in the metadata and things like that, in the advanced category, there's a new section at the top. Well, it's not really a new section. It was moved from the bottom to the top and then changed. This is the paid promotion declaration section, and this has gone through a couple revisions. And we're going to talk about where it came from and why it is the way it is, because I think that change has been a huge problem. You see, originally there was just one box. It was, this video contains paid product placement or promotion. YouTube would then review the video, confirm which company, brand, style of brand, whatever is in the video, and then use that to make sure that there are not ads running on the video for competing services. Then a few years ago, they added a second checkbox, which then adds a disclaimer on the actual video player whenever the viewer first starts the video, regardless of what time code they actually start at, with a little bit of text on it that most people would miss, saying contains paid product promotion. Now, the original strategy for this, for those who actually wanted to use it, was fairly straightforward in my eyes, but a lot of people were still confused by it. Box number one is if there's any sort of promotion in your video at all. So this includes a in-video ad like the one we're gonna have in this video, a fully sponsored video, or maybe even a review unit, although I don't really consider it that, but any sort of promotion, either an ad that you're running for yourself, say, like the one that I'm gonna run in this video in a few minutes, or for Curiosity Stream and Nebula, or an affiliate link if I'm promoting like Tunnel Bear or TubeBuddy or whatever affiliate links people do these days, or if the entire video is sponsored, such as my sponsored video on the Huddle Cam or my old Intel Streamers Bootcamp stuff. That checkbox would be something that I wanted to check, because then it would make sure that ads run on the video do not compete with the ads that I am running within the video myself. This was kind of important and very useful, and for a long time it seemed to work pretty well. However, in recent years, there's more and more instances of, say, me running a Nerd or Die ad and there still being an ad for Owned on it or something like that, where it doesn't seem like that's actually happening anymore, or the accuracy of it has gone down, or as far as I'm concerned, they're just not doing it anymore, but I don't know that for certain, so I can't state that with authority. The second box comes up for those who either need to retroactively apply disclosure to your video because you didn't declare your sponsorship properly the first time and you're trying to cover your butt, or you just want that extra bit of oomph to make sure that viewers actually know, because the FTC has been cracking down recently and trying to make their rules more clear, although in the past year or two they've made that worse. We're going to talk about that, about disclosing your sponsorships to your viewers, because there have been this whole influencer culture is taking off so much in recent years, and there hasn't been enough rule following for this. And you could get into the whole discussion of why celebrities and music videos don't have to disclose things the same way that YouTubers do, and that's a whole discussion in and of itself that we're not going to really have here. We have rules that we need to follow. A lot of people haven't been following them, so YouTube introduced a tool that can at least say that it was their bare minimum that they did to make sure that you had the option available to you, even if you forgot to say it in the video. However, this month, they just made a big change to it that I think is counterproductive to the whole point of everything, and I think it makes things worse, in that they have combined the two boxes so that now if you check it at all, which is just one box now, it both supposedly might still check for, competing ads. I don't think it is anymore, and then it will still declare that your video is sponsored on the video. The issue is here that this changes the perception to the viewer in a way that is more confusing. You see, the FTC has specific guidelines and specific when and how you need to disclose guidelines that are all built to have the total encompassing goal of making it clear to the viewer or to your audience what your relationship is to whatever company you're talking about in the video. And their original guidelines state that you need to have both on screen visually and in the audio so that people can hear it. You know, people who can't see can still hear it, people can't hear can still see it, and probably in the video description whether or not you have a relationship with the company, whether or not you're being paid for the video, compensated in some way, what have you. This is fairly straightforward. The goal is to provide more transparency and more clarity to your viewer what the relationship is. Because if I say, you know, I review the Elgato ring light back there and they're paying me money for it, which they're not in this case, but if they were paying me money to review that device and then I just come up and present a normal review, or I just say they sent it to me, that is misleading, and that no longer makes the audience aware of the relationship that I have with the company, and that is bad. That is against the FTC rules. That's punishable for a good reason. So I need to declare that. So if I have a dedicated sponsored video for a product, I need to open that video and say this video is sponsored by blah, blah, blah. That needs to be where nobody can miss it, both in the audio and on screen. You can't just bury it. They made it very clear. You can't just bury it in the description. You can't just put it at the end of the video. It has to be up front so that no reasonable viewer could miss it. Straightforward. As far as I'm concerned, there's little to be confused about. If you are confused about what your relationships are here, you basically have 3 different tiers in influencer culture. Maybe a couple more, but these are less common. You have review units, where I am sent a sample for review, like the Elgato ring light. You have paid promotion, as in video advertisements, such as what I run on most of my videos, such as what Linus runs, you know, with all his crazy segues, Gamers Nexus after he says before that, all of that, you know, in video advertisements. And then you have full dedicated sponsored videos, where the entire point of the video, the entire video itself, is being funded by another company. Those are the 3 main situations. There's weird stuff like product placement and all of that, and ironically, given the number of logos and products behind me, I don't do any of that. That's not really common these days. But those are the main tiers that you have that you need to disclose. And the viewer needs to know in some capacity what that relationship is. A review sample is different than a full paid sponsorship. The amount of money in compensation I would receive to do a fully sponsored video is significantly different than a product that I then review, put on a shelf to gather dust until I'm comparing it and things like that. It doesn't have an impact on my life. Now, there is some judgment calls to make there, because say, if I got sent like a red cinema camera or a car for review, and that's something like of so much financial value or so much impact on my day-to-day life, that would bridge into, assuming I got to keep it, would bridge into sponsorship territory because of the sheer value and impact that it has. But for standard, just here's yet another capture card that I can add to my drawer full of capture cards to then review and compare later, that's just work. That's a review unit. The whole point of all of this is to declare that so the viewer knows what that relationship is, and they can make whatever adjustments in their head about what you're saying in the video based on that, so that they have that information to make the best decision for themselves. Because a paid sponsored review, which in my opinion, a review cannot be sponsored inherently, like that's not a review anymore. But, you know, a paid video on a product is going to present different information or present it in a different light than a non-paid video. That's just how it works. That's why most of my reviews, I don't do any sort of sponsorship for or anything like that. And if I do a fully sponsored video just for a product, it's for a completely different like project approach. So tying back to the checkboxes, the goal here is that, as far as I was concerned, if you had an in-video ad or a dedicated sponsored video, you would check the original first box to make sure no competing ads were run on your video. And then if it was a fully sponsored video, you would check the second box so that you would also have that extra bit of disclosure to cover your butt so no one could say you didn't do it right on the video player itself. However, over the past year or two, the FTC has been releasing more and more dumbed down guidelines for disclosures for sponsorships and influencers. These don't change the original guidelines that I'm referring to here, but they do basically present it in a different way that dumbs it down. They are basically begging influencers so much to disclose their sponsorships that they're basically saying just slaps hashtag sponsored or hashtag ad on literally anything that has any sort of relationship with the company and you're good, which is not the case. That's counterproductive. The whole point of these changes, of these guidelines and rules, is to inform the viewer and to make it more clear what your relationship is with them. If you're just calling everything sponsored, then suddenly that clarity is gone. Suddenly you're working against yourself, because if I call every single product review review sample, event coverage, actual sponsored video, and in-video advertisement as just a sponsored video, you can't tell which is which. It all looks bad now. Like, none of it makes any sense. That's not productive, and that's essentially what YouTube has gone along with to cover their own butts here with this new checkbox. When it says my video contains paid product or paid promotion, like a product placement, sponsorship, or endorsement, it's gonna slap that label on the video. And if creators are doing that for what is just a review sample or just an in-video advertisement, that changes the perception to the viewer because they don't know that the core topic of the video isn't being paid for by a company and being influenced, and that will negatively impact their perception of the video. That's not okay. What's worse, compounding on top of this, is their actual language to inform you of whether or not you should make that decision is vague and loopholey as heck. It says, if you accepted anything of value from a third party to make your video, you must let us know. We'll show viewers a message that tells them the video contains paid promotion. Anything of value. So if I accepted a mouse from someone because my mouse broke and I needed to make videos like I did at CES, do I need to declare that my video was sponsored by Bite My Bits? If someone sent me a green screen so I could do a green screen shot, which I don't normally do I need to declare that? And again, that comes down to, I got sent a ring light for review. Do I need to declare that as paid promotion? No, I'm not being paid for this video. It's a review unit. I would have just bought it myself if I didn't have it. It's going to sit on a shelf or in a setup for me to make videos on. That's not me being paid. I don't think that's what they intend. I'm not even arguing against necessarily what they intend for it to look like because I don't even think that this is it. But their wording is so vague that people are going to be confused, label the wrong thing, and audiences are probably going to start negatively reacting to it. As a creator, I have some recommendations for how you should handle this moving forward. And before we get to that, I'm going to talk to you about the platform that I've been working on with some of my creator friends to make a better viewing experience for everyone, because a lot of this weird stuff with YouTube doesn't really go on other video platforms, and we can kind of avoid it. And that's what Nebula brings to the table. It is a platform designed to allow you to view and share the content that you love from fellow education YouTubers such as myself, Legal Eagle, Alex from Low Spec Gamer, and so on a platform that isn't beholden to these weird algorithm things or, weird implementations of FTC guidelines. We, of course, are still going to follow the guidelines, but we don't have these weird things that we have to worry about jumping up at any point in time. This platform will contain all the content you know and love from YouTubers such as myself and the ones that I mentioned, but it will also contain Nebula Originals, which is original content that you wouldn't be able to get or see on YouTube or the normal video platforms dedicated to that website, such as Alex Goes Bananas, where he reacts to pop culture of the 90s and 2000s and continues to make me fear for how old I'm getting, as well as Alex the Low Spec Gamer's own podcast, Genesis. The website is actually impacting my channel in a significant way, as it's allowing me to start working on extra content and formats and pursue niche things that I get questions about all the time that I haven't really been able to do so far on YouTube. So I will be launching a podcast on there, and it'll be available publicly, but I'm able to do so because of Nebula. I'm able to start pursuing more in-depth reviews of capture cards and technical details that I get little questions about that I don't have time or the capacity to normally fit in my usual reviews. And all of that will be provided through and thanks to Nebula. Not only that though, if for whatever reason that wasn't compelling enough of content for you to subscribe to, you can get thousands of more educational and documentary content through CuriosityStream, who saw what we were doing over on Nebula, wanted to partner up and provide a little bit of a bundle so that you can get all of this content for incredibly cheap. We're talking 20% off their usual bundle deal, so that's under $15 per year for everything on CuriosityStream. If you want to listen to David Attenborough talk about the planet again, there's lots of content on there. Man, so addicted. Anyway, you can get under $15 a year for their annual plan, and that will give you both CuriosityStream and Nebula for free included in that for as long as you're subscribed to CuriosityStream. So you get access to both sites worth of amazing video content. So when you get tired of seeing my face, you can go look at somebody else's face for a little bit and come back when I have new content, and go check out all the content there. So head on over to curiositystream.com/epos to sign up. Use coupon code EPOS to save that 26% off. It is the cheapest way you could support my channel and the biggest way to help me produce more and better content that I've been wanting to produce for years. So go check it out, curiositystream.com/epos. Thank you so much for your support. And here are my recommendations for how you should handle paid promotion stuff like this. Now see, I thought in advance. I wanted to put that sponsored spot there so I could show you what I'm talking about. This whole video is not being paid for by CuriosityStream or Nebula. It's not. This isn't a video about them. It doesn't benefit them directly. It's just the little segment that I just read there was my ad read about CuriosityStream and Nebula. That was the ad spot. To check that checkbox saying the entire video contains paid product promotion conveys a completely different perspective of the video. Now for this one, it would be a little different because who would someone think is sponsoring a video that's talking about problems at YouTube other than like another video site? Like, is this video sponsored by Twitch? But, you know, if I'm reviewing a capture card and I check that box, is the capture card paying me? The capture card company paying me? The viewer doesn't know because now it's not clear. So I understand that the language on the wording here is a little concerning because it says you must let us know. However, there's so many loopholes here in the first place, on top of the fact that I would argue that the whole point is to make that decision based on what you want. So my advice is, for the most part, to not even use this feature. The whole point is to get influencers to disclose properly within the FTC guidelines. So go read the actual FTC guidelines. And if it looks like this, where it's just saying throw hashtag sponsored on it, ignore that. Those aren't the real guidelines. I'll try to have them linked below. The point of the guidelines is that you must have early in your video so that it can't be missed by anyone, both visually and audibly, that your video has a sponsorship or that the product you're covering was sent to you for review. Something I'm not great on, but I am committing here to being better about that moving forward, at least in the description. Again, that part's not paid. I don't feel it needs to be compelled, especially when there's an entire context where just about anyone at this point knows that regular reviewers are sent products for review. However, that isn't good enough, according to the FTC, and in general, like my own philosophy, that isn't necessarily good enough. So I will still be tweaking that moving forward. But you at least need to have some disclosure somewhere that this product was sent to me by X company. You don't need to say sent to me for free because it's not free. You're working. The hours of work you put into a video. This capture card was like multiple weeks worth of work to get this video done. That's not free. And again, it's sitting here as a coaster basically until I'm using it to compare again. It's not a product that impacts my life. But you need to have a disclosure saying you were sent something for free or that the video is sponsored if the whole video is sponsored. If it's an advertisement, make it clear, like it's not going to be hidden to anyone. You're not going to be like, oh, by the way, go subscribe to Netflix. They totally didn't pay me. Like, ad spots are a standardized format. It's just like a commercial on TV. That part's already taken care of. So make sure your disclosures are tight. You have a set policy. Now you could make a policy page on your website, on your blog, on your about section of your YouTube channel that formalizes your format for sponsorship. So you can say, I will declare X if the product is sent for me for review. I will declare Y if it's a fully sponsored video, and otherwise I have it in video ad spots. And you can then reference that moving forward for a strict policy that you will follow in every single video. And viewers will have the opportunity to call you out should you shift from that policy and decide, I don't want to tell people today, and that's their right, and that's what should be done. However, the FTC has made it very clear that you can't just rely on an off-platform or an off-content page to tell someone if the video is sponsored. So if I do a sponsored video and I don't say it anywhere except on a page on my website, that does not count. That is not proper disclosure. It does need to be in the video. That will just be supplementary to explain your policy. So I recommend, even if it's just in a Google Doc for yourself, that you just keep bookmarked and reference every time you need to write a video disclosure, have a set policy that you follow for every single video. And that will save you a lot of time, a lot of hassle. If you want to go that extra step for certain, sponsored videos to declare it on YouTube on the player, check that box, click save, and move forward. However, I don't think that's necessary in a lot of sections, and I personally am not going to be doing it. There's been murmurs going about, as with all features on YouTube, that second checkbox actually impacts your video performance. And that could be, I don't have actual data on this, and I'm not in a position to really test it in a proper fashion. And so that could be due to the text causing people to bounce off the video, or it could be due to some other algorithmic related thing. But supposedly that hurts it. Now, I try not to believe that stuff, but there's enough people who believe it that I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. However, my main justification for not using it is I truly do not support the way YouTube is handling this. YouTube and the FTC are currently dumbing things down so much that they are working against the very purpose of their policies, which is to provide more clarity, that they are now taking away clarity from people who would otherwise do this correctly. And so I'm going to continue to stand by the idea of doing it correctly, making it very clear to viewers, and letting that stand. So this is both kind of a review of my policy and how I'm going to handle it moving forward. I don't mislead people about stuff. If anyone asks if I happen to not mention that a product was a review sample, I always make that very clear. And usually if someone does ask, I'll go back and make sure it's declared somewhere in the video because I forgot. I do tend to forget sometimes recently, especially with my new dad life. I'm crazy busy. I just don't think about it because pretty much everything I cover is a review sample unless I bought it. And that is getting less and less these days. That's also why I move away from reviews as much. But actually paid for stuff is as blatantly conveyed as possible in my videos. I usually have giant text on screen. It often even makes the companies mad because I'm like, nope, I gotta declare this. It's gotta be clear. Sorry. And they're like, well, we don't want it to detract from the video. And I'm like, it won't. That's why I have integrity. People trust me for this. But I wanted to both convey my policy and help you kind of understand what this new checkbox is and what you should actually be doing with it. I hope this video was helpful for you. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, and it was. Subscribe for more tech education and streaming and content creator related topics, and go check us out on Nebula, where you can support me and not have to worry about any of this. And this is truly like, this is unlocking so many big doors for moves that I have wanted to make in my career that I have not been able to do before. Like, since we're talking about paid promotions and disclosures, let's talk about this for a second here. This is kind of going off script. While yes, this does qualify, my whole spiel about CuriosityStream and Nebula, that does qualify as an in-video advertisement, you know, in that commercial style slot that I described. It is an actual platform that I am directly involved with. It is a fully creator-owned platform that, you know, I work with to build this up. It's not some random website that contacted me and wanted me to pay me to promote their site. It is something that I am working directly with and altering what I can do in my career based on the site, because it's unlocking what we have done, and what this group of creators have done is unlocking so many possibilities for what I want to do in my career, which is why I'm talking about it so much all of a sudden. So it still counts as an in-video advertisement, and CuriosityStream is obviously not directly related. They're just bundling here as stated, but wanted to provide some clarity there. And we can talk more about Nebula and CuriosityStream and how it affects my channel in the future if you'd like. I've had quite a few questions. I'll post some links in the description to Twitter where I answered them in some video posts as well. And if you have more questions, we can maybe do a dedicated video about it. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.